Hello, hello, and welcome to the last module for our Finding Your Stories Voice course. And again, please do these at your own leisure. And this one in particular, you're probably not even going to futz with until you've gotten some writing on your story done, because this is an editing module. What? This is the most hardcore craft piece. The other ones were much more creative, word choice and including some genre tropes, but in an artful new way, and figuring out how to play with perspective. That's all operational from one side of the brain. This is from a slightly different part of the brain. Today is about sentence structure. As it turns out, sentence structure can have as big of an impact on your storytelling voice as anything else. Hoy. So let's start with this piece of information. Did you know that most writers end up writing the same sentence structure over and over and over again? Some people are hung up on semicolons. Some people want parentheses in there. Some people write two lines and a few extra words, so it veers into that third line. Some of them have lots and lots of complex phrases. Yeah, go have a look. Go look at your own writing if you don't believe me. Chances are you're going to catch yourself writing the same sentence structure and length over and over again. Guess what? Same thing happens to paragraphs. Oh no, now it's the same thing where we end up writing, and I don't know why this is, but we all end up having this like inner metronome going on when we write, and we're like, okay, that's 5 sentences, and that's about 8 lines. Done. Let's move on to the next paragraph. I don't know, go look at your writing. Maybe you're doing this, maybe you've already cracked this piece, but we got to diversify. We have to. Part of it is because that redundancy creates boredom in your readers. We need information to come at us in different parts and parcels. We need paragraphs of differing lengths because it changes pacing. There's lots of books out there, especially like books from decades ago, where you would get these huge paragraphs. And I don't know, I see that on the page and I just start, I don't know, my eyes just roll back in my head and I fall asleep because I know how hard it's going to be to hack through all of that information in such a dense, you know, presentation, like this many words. It's too much. I'm going to go take a nap. And guess what? That's exactly what happens when we don't diversify our sentence length or structure or our paragraph length or structure. Um, we have folks who use it as a book because they're like, oh, I know I'll get 3 pages in and it'll put me right to sleep. It's called entrainment. It's a real scientific thing. We don't want to bore our readers into putting down our book or falling asleep on our book. All right. So yeah, let's just start with some basics here. So one of the things that can happen a lot is that we not only we're using kind of boring words, but we also come into our sentences exactly the same. So like I asked, I said, I ran, I picked it up, I thought, I saw, I rolled my eyes. Yeah, so the I, or he, or they, or whatever it is that you're working with. If you are writing that sentence structure over and over and over again, it's not great. It's not great for your story's voice. You want to be more sophisticated than that. So that's the very first thing, but like to what? What do we switch it to? So I'm going to give us some examples. So here's one example of a sentence. I went to the store and saw an old friend. Now it could be at the store, I saw an old friend, or it could be, I saw my old friend at the store, or my old friend was at the store when I saw her. Just changing things up a little bit. Here, I'm actually going to put some slides up there. It also changes the kind of information that we end up getting. And it can open the door to better word choice. It can open the door to getting in some emotional information, which when I show you this breakdown will make more sense. So here we go. Let me show you the original sentence first. So here we go. I ran to the store and bought the milk that my husband had forgotten, knowing at least that it would be the right kind. Already there's a lot of subtext going on in there. I don't have to explain it. All right, but let's look at different ways. So there's 7 different sentence structures. Let's look at different variations of this, but also listen to how the emotional impact of things change. Knowing at least that it would be the right kind, I ran to the store and bought the milk my husband had forgotten. At the store, I found the milk, the right kind, which my husband had once again forgotten. Running to the store, I lamented my husband's forgetfulness. As always, it was up to me to buy the right kind of milk. He'd forgotten again. Once at the store, I bought the kind my husband never remembered. Why did he never remember? It was just milk. I went to the store and bought the right kind myself. Why do you never remember the milk? 1 gallon, 2%. How hard is it? I asked my husband. Never mind. Don't get it. I'll do it myself, I said, and I did. Again, I thought as I drove to the store to pick up the milk. He forgot it again? So towards the end, we start breaking up. So instead of just sticking in a single sentence, we use shorter phrases. We bring in like questions. We bring in dialogue. We bring in interiority. So those inner thoughts. There's all kinds of ways to play with this. Now, the reason I said at the very beginning that this is something that you might not futz with right now, to me, this is the kind of thing where after you've gotten your draft out, like just get the writing done. Then you go back, and this is part of revision, where then you start challenging your work sentence by sentence. I find that if you, here, let me get off the stop share here. I find if you start playing with your sentences like this in an early draft, a lot of those sentences may not survive the revision process that gets us to, the actual story that you want to tell. So my and I try not to dictate process because everybody's, every writer's process is different. But I find that if you give yourself the space to just go and have fun writing that first draft, then you can go back and start bringing in some of these tools. Like you don't want to be hung up with your thesaurus on a first draft, trying to figure out a better word for this and a better word than that, because that's less creative work and that's more, right brain, is that right? Analysis work. And changing up your sentences is especially analysis work. So do it once you are pretty committed to what the story is and how the scenes are coming out, and then go back and play. And you could see like the diversification of it. That the first one was really, really dry, but by the end, my gosh, it was just so infused with so much of the character's voice. This idea of the conversational voice really punches through. It also, if you do this later on in your draft, in your revisions, it gives you a chance to already have figured out what your character's voice is, so that when you slip into trying to diversify your sentence structures, you have the character's voice kind of in your head already, and you know how to play with it. So there you go. Very short, you guys. Kind of the same thing with paragraphs, where again, just challenge them and look for different ways to press the enter button. Screenwriters, I'm in particular talking to you. If you find yourself writing more than 5 lines per narrative description, that's way too many. If you read a screenplay, you'll see that it'll be like 2 lines, 1 line, 1 line, 3 lines, 2 lines, 1 line. So they're always, first off, they're short, like 3 lines is kind of the most we do in screenwriting, but we're also looking for ways to break it up. The recommendation that I give to screenwriters for this is to think in terms of being the cinematographer, the person with the camera. So each time as you're going through the narrative that you have written a line that the camera would have to be picked up and moved within the scene to capture, hit the enter button there. It's a really, really simple trick, but it's a solid trick for knowing how to break things up. It's because you've basically created an edit in our mind. So now you're kind of both shooting it and editing it from the page. Very tricky, very simple. So this was a super short one, but it's also something to to keep in mind. When I see you at the library, what I might do is to get emails, and I can send you some of these materials so that you have it on hand. But these recordings, are available to you for whenever. I'm trying to decide if I want to go deeper into this, but I really feel like I've kind of hit what we need to hit on that. So I bid you adieu, a very simple one to make up for that very long module two, and I will see you November 15th at the library. Oh, I know I was forgetting something. Here's what I was forgetting is what to bring for the library. So the homework for this one, and then the homework for our in-person meeting. And I know there are some folks who are watching this who are not able to make our in-person one. I'm sorry to not get a chance to meet you, and you can ignore the homework for the actual conference itself, or you can do the homework and you can email it directly to me, and I would be more than happy to give you feedback on it. And my email address is trai.cartwright@gmail.com. Very easy to find me. All right, so homework based on today's very simple and short task is this. Use the prompts I'm giving here, and then to play with the different approaches of your sentences. There's seven different approaches in. So take one of these. You don't have to do all of these prompts, or I don't know, if you're having fun, do use all of these prompts. But here's one prompt. I thought the conversation was over, but the look on her face told me she wasn't going to give in that easily. Find 6 other ways to write that information. Do it in your genre's tone. Do it as if your character was having this thought, and see if you can capture your character's voice. Look for ways to bring in sensory details. Remember that word choice thing that we're talking about? So important. So not only challenge the sentence structure, but also see if you can play with the other things that we've been talking about. All right, here's the second one. Her green and gold dress was made of gossamer threads and was tied tightly at the waist, making it hard for her to breathe. So it's a shift in perspective, but it's still close. It's still, yeah, third person close, because it's making it hard for her to breathe. We wouldn't have that information if we were doing the Ernest Hemingway thing and we were just watching it. Now, she could be gasping for air, and that's how we would know it was hard for her to breathe. But here, it's close third. Feel free to play with the details here. We get a little bit more, the gold and green in the dress and the gossamer threads, and it was tied tightly. So feel free to dig into this if you want it to be fantastical, or if it's a historical thing, you can give us more details in that. But look for 6 other ways to get this information across. And then here's one more. This is the third person omniscient. So we are zoomed way out. We're not in a character's head for this information. This is more of an Ernest Hemingway approach. Here's the third one. The bomb exploded. Shrapnel shot out in every direction, embedding in cement walls and metal doors and shattering office windows. Ooh la la, so dramatic. Yeah, go have fun with this. Again, we're just playing. We're just playing here. All right. Final homework for this module is to take those pages that you've been working on, and man, get honest about your sentence structure. Go ahead and, make some diagnoses here. What kind of sentence structure are you kind of hung up on? How long are your sentences pretty routinely? Also look at the paragraph structure, do the same thing. And then, I don't know, even though I told you to wait until you had the whole thing written, go play. Go have some fun diversifying your sentences, because one of the things that happens is when we return to these tools in our revisions, sometimes I'll even break it down into individual passes where I will write something. The vomit draft is what we call it. So elegant, right? I do the vomit draft, and then I will go back and I will start deploying these other pieces to help hone and hone and hone what the voice of the piece is, but also to elevate the craft of things, which is really what we're doing here when we are diversifying our sentence and paragraph structure. And I don't know, you do it, like the more you do that routinely, even in the early drafts, the more your brain will start to do it naturally. The more your brain will naturally challenge your sentence structure, but also, like your word choice. It'll start to train you on kind of a subconscious level to reach out for more interesting words and to look for the times when we are not including enough information. If we're writing in first person and we haven't done interiority for a while, there's a part of you that has learned this piece of the craft and you can be like, I got to get some interiority in here. It's not fair that it's just been all, talking about what the landscape looks like and reporting the dialogue. I need to make sure that I have my characters' emotional responses to it, this sort of stuff. So again, the more you work with these tools, the more they will embed themselves in your bones. And when you come to your writing, you will now be that writer who is using those skills. All right, last piece here is the homework for the conference. The first thing I'm hoping is that you might have a laptop. It may be a lot to ask for some of you, so a notepad and paper is totally fine. But if you have a laptop, that'd be great. We are going to be doing some editing in class. We're gonna have some fun. We're gonna do some writer's prompts. Oh, I got plans for you guys. Anyway, and then also bring the chunk of pages that you've been working on across these 4 modules. It's about 4 to 8 pages probably. Bring the original version and then bring the drafts as you were working on them and deploying these tools on them, because we want to see the evolution of where you started and then where you landed just by deploying these really simple craft pieces. While we're at the library, we're going to be doing an elevated word choice workshop. We are going to be reading stuff out loud. So for those of you that causes some anxiety, try to work on your head now and be like, okay, this is going to be a thing, but we're all really nice people. Nobody's going to get beat up on this, right? This is just a chance to share and to hear your work out loud can be really impactful. My screenwriters are used to doing this. We're used to deploying people on what we call table reads, because let's face it, screenplays are meant to be films with actors. So they might be a little bit more used to it. But for my fiction and creative nonfiction, it can really be revolutionary to hear things said out loud. Yes, so there you go. Just bring the span of your work across these 4 modules and come ready to play. Again, if you're not able to make it on the 15th, my email is trai.cartwright@gmail.com. You are more than welcome to email this stuff directly to me, and I'll just give you some feedback via email. There's no reason for you to miss out on the fun. All right, you all, can't wait to see you. We've got, I don't know, weeks dwindle down into days. So if you're looking at this on the 14th, hey, I'll see you tomorrow. All right, y'all. Thanks so much for your hard work and yeah, enjoy. Remember, this is supposed to be fun, right? Right? Cheers.